Kim Taehyung, better known to the world as V from BTS, was born on December 30, 1995, in Daegu, South Korea, and raised in the small town of Gyeochang where his grandparents played a major role in his upbringing, shaping the values and warmth that continue to define him today. And from the earliest days of his childhood, he was surrounded not by luxury but by simplicity, fields, and the closeness of family bonds that taught him humility and gratitude long before he ever knew he would stand on the world's biggest stages. And as a child he wasn't born with a silver spoon of fame but with a dreamer's heart that sought comfort in music, art, and the magic of imagination, a boy who loved to sing, play the saxophone, and immerse himself in melodies that expressed feelings words could never capture, and those around him often recall that he carried a spark even in his earliest years, a presence that felt magnetic and a warmth that drew people toward him without him ever trying. Yet at the same time he was shy, thoughtful, and often contemplative about life in ways that made him stand apart, and though financial challenges were real for his family, there was never a shortage of love or encouragement, because his parents and grandparents always told him that dreams were worth chasing, even when the odds seemed impossible, and this belief planted a seed in his heart that one day he would create something greater than himself, something that would touch millions, though at that time he didn't yet know it would be through the global phenomenon of BTS. And school life for young Taehyung was like many other kids. Days filled with studies, laughter with friends, and small struggles of growing up. But even in classrooms and playgrounds, people noticed his uniqueness, the way his deep voice stood out when he sang, the way his aura commanded attention without him demanding it. And he began dreaming of a life in music, even though it seemed unrealistic, especially for a boy from a small town with no connections in the entertainment industry. But destiny always finds its way to those who keep the fire alive inside their hearts. And for Taehyung, that fire was music, art, and performance, and while others doubted themselves or followed the safer path, he nurtured that secret wish to stand on stage, to share his voice with the world, and though he did not know how or when, he promised himself to never let the dream go. And slowly but surely, opportunities began to appear. With his saxophone training in middle school giving him confidence to perform and express himself, and while others saw it as just another extracurricular activity, for Taehyung it was more. It was proof that sound could carry emotion, that art could connect hearts, and that maybe, just maybe, he had something worth sharing with the world. And little did anyone know that the quiet boy from Gyeochang was preparing to step onto a path that would forever change not only his life but the very landscape of global music history, a path that would test him, challenge him, and eventually crown him as one of the most beloved artists of his generation. And the story of Part 1 is not just about a child's birth and growth, but about the birth of resilience, humility, and quiet strength that later became the foundation of BTS V's legacy. Because it reminds us that even the greatest stars start as ordinary children, carrying extraordinary dreams within. As Kim Taehyung grew older, his secret dream of becoming an artist never left him, and even though he lived in Gyeochang, far from the bustling opportunities of Seoul, he carried the determination that one day he would make it, and fate intervened in a way that still feels like destiny. While accompanying a friend to a big-hit entertainment audition, Taehyung had no plans of auditioning himself, he was simply there to support. Yet one of the staff members encouraged him to try out. And in that moment a door opened that would forever change his life, for he went in, sang with his deep soulful voice, and impressed the judges so much that he became the only one selected from Daegu that day, a moment that proved sometimes destiny finds you when you least expect it. And though he was thrilled, the road that followed was far from easy, because becoming a trainee meant endless hours of vocal training, dancing, practice after practice until his body ached and his mind felt drained. But he refused to give up, reminding himself of that small-town boy who once promised never to let his dream go. And in the beginning, he wasn't even introduced publicly as a trainee like the others, kept as a hidden member, and many times he wondered if he would even debut, if his efforts would ever be seen by the world. And those moments of uncertainty tested his resolve, yet they also forged his resilience, because he learned that sometimes the strongest flames are formed in the darkest silence. And when BTS finally debuted in 2013, Taehyung stepped onto the stage not just as V, but as proof that patience, perseverance, and faith in oneself can transform uncertainty into triumph. And though their debut was modest, far from the global domination they would later achieve, every small performance, every sleepless night in practice rooms, every criticism and rejection, became the fuel that pushed him harder. And alongside his members he endured the difficult early years of BTS, when the group was mocked, doubted, and overlooked by mainstream industry players. But instead of crumbling, Taehyung and his brothers in BTS grew closer, determined to prove themselves not with words but with music, sweat, and unbreakable unity, and V, with his deep voice and unique visuals, quickly stood out, captivating audiences with something different, something magnetic. That rare combination of innocence and charisma that made people curious. And though his path wasn't without struggles, he fought insecurities about his place, worries about whether he was good enough. He never let them destroy his spirit, instead turning them into reasons to push harder, and as BTS's popularity began to grow, first in Korea, then across Asia, and eventually across the world, Taehyung found himself standing on stages he had once only imagined, singing before thousands, then tens of thousands, then entire stadiums filled with light sticks waving like stars. And each time he stepped on stage he remembered the boy from Jeocheon, the boy who was once invisible, now shining brighter than he ever thought possible. And the journey with BTS was not just about fame, but about breaking barriers, challenging the norms of the music industry, proving that sincerity, authenticity, and connection could conquer the world, and Taehyung, with his artistry, warmth, and presence, became a symbol of that very truth, embodying the message that no matter where you come from, if you carry passion and refuse to give up, the world will one day hear your voice. As the years went by and BTS rose from a small underdog group to the biggest music act in the world, Kim Taehyung, known as V, continued to evolve not just as an idol but as an artist, a visionary who was never afraid to explore, experiment, and express himself in ways that transcended boundaries. And while his role in BTS cemented him as a global icon, his individuality shined through in every performance, every solo song, and every gesture of connection with fans. For when he sang, it wasn't just sound but soul, carrying emotions that touched people across languages, across cultures, across continents, and his songs like Stigma, Singularity, Inner Child, and later his solo album projects showed the depth of his artistry, proving that he wasn't just part of a group, but a complete artist in his own right, capable of telling stories that resonated universally. And as he grew, so did his influence, extending beyond music into fashion, photography, and even social impact. Becoming a style icon recognized by global luxury brands, yet never losing the authenticity that made him relatable, humble, and loved, because despite the fame, he remained the same Taehyung who valued family, friendship, and the simple joys of life, and that balance between stardom and sincerity became a cornerstone of his legacy, inspiring millions of fans known as ARMY to believe in themselves, to chase their dreams regardless of obstacles, and to embrace their uniqueness without fear. And what makes his story even more powerful is not just his success but the way he carries it, with grace, with kindness, and with a reminder that true greatness is not measured by trophies or records, though he has plenty, but by the lives touched and the hope given. And through V's journey we see the story of a boy from Daegu who once dreamed in the quiet corners of Jeocheon, who endured doubt and hardship, who stood as a hidden trainee, who debuted against the odds, and who now stands as one of the most beloved and influential artists in the world. And his story is not just his alone, it belongs to every dreamer, every underdog, every soul who has ever been told they're not enough. Because Taehyung proved that with persistence, humility, and love, you can not only prove them wrong but build a legacy that echoes across the globe. And today, as his music plays in countless homes, as his smile inspires countless hearts, as his art shapes culture, we are reminded that Kim Taehyung, BTS V, is more than just a star. He is a symbol of perseverance, of artistry, and of hope, a reminder that even the smallest voices can one day be heard by the whole world, and that the journey of life, no matter how humble it begins, can lead to a destiny greater than anything imagined. And so his legacy continues to grow, not as an ending, but as a living story that will inspire generations to come, proving forever that dreams are worth chasing, that music can change lives, and that the boy from Jeocheon will always be remembered as the man who touched the world.